Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating intersection of subtle digital footprints and massive political transitions. We live in an era where the most profound shifts in power aren't always announced with some grand speech from a podium. Sometimes, the biggest political earthquakes are registered through the absolute quietest of digital updates. We're going to examine the recent historic transfer of power in West Bengal, India, and look at how a massive constitutional standoff was seemingly resolved, not with a formal press release, but with just a few keystrokes.
Okay, let's dive right into this. How do you concede an election without actually saying a single word? It's kind of the ultimate modern political puzzle. Traditionally, right, a defeated candidate steps up to a microphone, thanks their supporters, and officially hands the reins over to the victor. It's a total hallmark of democratic traditions. But what happens when an incumbent vehemently disagrees with the election results? How does the massive machinery of government keep moving forward when the person in power flat out refuses to verbally yield? Well, in our hyper-connected world, the answer to that mystery might just lie right in the palm of our hands, on our social media profiles.
The sheer power here literally lies in just a few carefully edited words. Before this transition, Mamata Banerjee's X, formerly Twitter, bio explicitly stated, Honorable Chief Minister West Bengal. Very active, right? Very present tense. But on a quiet Saturday morning, that bio was suddenly updated to read, Chief Minister of West Bengal, 15th, 16th, and 17th Vidhan Sabha. Notice that subtle, honestly brilliant shift? By explicitly listing her tenure as spanning the past 15th, 16th, and 17th legislative assemblies, she's mathematically and implicitly acknowledging that the upcoming 18th assembly belongs to someone else. It's a silent concession, broadcast to millions without uttering a single word of defeat.
Section 1. A refusal to resign.
To really get why this digital update was such a big deal, we have to look at what was happening just days before. The political climate in West Bengal was practically boiling over. On Tuesday, the 71-year-old leader, Mamata Banerjee, really dug her heels in. She told reporters, "The question of my resignation does not arise, as we were defeated not by a public mandate, but by a conspiracy. I did not lose." Her Trinamool Congress Party, the TMC, was making some incredibly serious allegations. Banerjee claimed that massive irregularities took place during the counting process. She alleged that nearly 100 seats were outright looted and that the counting pace was deliberately slowed down, basically to drain her party's morale. In her view, there was absolutely zero reason to step down because she just didn't recognize the legitimacy of the defeat. She even stated definitively that she wouldn't go to Lok Bhavan, the state secretariat.
Now, to remain completely objective and understand the sheer polarization of this moment, we have to look at the other side of this constitutional crisis. In direct response to Banerjee's refusal to step down, the opposing Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, fired back with their own stark narrative. They labeled her stance as flat-out anarchic. The BJP argued that refusing to accept the electoral verdict and refusing to resign as chief minister was a direct violation of India's long-standing democratic traditions. So we're looking at an unprecedented gridlock here. An incumbent claiming a massive conspiracy and refusing to leave, and a declared victor demanding the traditional transfer of power.
Which brings us to Section 2, the election numbers.
Let's break down the sheer scale of this mandate in the 294-seat West Bengal Assembly. The BJP secured an absolute landslide victory with 207 seats. Compare that to Mamata Banerjee's TMC, which secured 80 seats, with the remaining parties taking just 7. This wasn't some narrow, down-to-the-wire margin. It was a sweeping, undeniable numerical shift that gave the BJP an absolute mandate to govern. It really shows exactly why the TMC's loss was such a profound shock to the political landscape.
And that brings us to a really simple but incredibly heavy number, 15. This number represents the amount of years Mamata Banerjee maintained uninterrupted rule over West Bengal. For a decade and a half, she was literally the defining force in the state's politics. So the election numbers we just talked about, they didn't just mean a change in parliamentary seats, they meant the abrupt end of a 15-year era. Grasping the weight of that 15-year history really helps explain why conceding, even after a landslide mathematical defeat, was just such a massive, monumental hurdle.
But this defeat wasn't just a broad, statewide party loss. It was intensely personal. The whole narrative of this election really hinged on a crucial head-to-head matchup in the constituency of Bhawanipur. In a stunning upset, Mamata Banerjee actually lost her own specific race in this district to the BJP candidate Suvendu Adhikari. So the chief minister didn't just see her party lose its majority, she personally lost her seat in the assembly to the exact man who would go on to claim her job.
Section 3, the oath of office.
This is where the digital world and physical reality just perfectly aligned. Remember that quiet Saturday morning update to Mamata Banerjee's X profile we examined at the start of The Explainer? Well, that exact moment of digital concession coincided perfectly with physical reality. On that very same Saturday, Suvendu Adhikari, the man who defeated Banerjee in Bhamanipur, took the oath of office, officially becoming the BJP's first-ever chief minister in West Bengal. While the physical transfer of power was happening with oaths and formal ceremonies, the digital transfer of power happened with a backspace key and a profile save. The constitutional crisis was basically averting in tandem across both realms.
Which leaves us with one seriously thought-provoking question to take away from this explainer today. Are social media bios becoming our new official state records? We've just seen how one of the most tense political transitions in recent Indian history was subtly signaled and ultimately resolved through a simple social media profile update. It really challenges us to think about how communication, technology, and democracy are intersecting today. When the traditional microphone is rejected, it turns out the digital bio speaks volumes. It's just a fascinating reality of modern leadership. Thank you so much for joining me as we unpack the data behind this historic transition. Keep questioning how the world communicates around you, and I'll see you in our next explainer.